My name is Andy Hock. I'm the Vice President and Head of Product for Cerebras Systems. We're an AI computer systems company, and we've built a new class of processor and a new type of computer system to accelerate computing for artificial intelligence by orders of magnitude beyond what's possible with traditional legacy general purpose processors like GPUs. AI for healthcare and life sciences is a rapidly growing field. Particularly for healthcare and life sciences, we often deal with massive structured and unstructured data sets. And our job as a researcher or a clinician is to develop an accurate model to help develop new therapies or more accurately detect or diagnose disease. And this requires massive AI models that often take days or weeks of time to compute. These new models are being used for everything from drug discovery to tumor detection for cancer and other applications in healthcare and life science. Cerebras Systems is particularly well suited to solve these large AI problems in healthcare and life sciences because of the challenge I mentioned a little bit previously. The large state-of-the-art AI models, particularly for language processing and computer vision, often take days or weeks of computing time to train on traditional systems. This long training time translates into extended research and a fundamental impracticality to develop new models and new methods quickly. At Cerebras, the system that we've built accelerates computation for AI by orders of magnitude, taking those AI model training tasks down from, say, 2 or 3 weeks down to only 2 or 3 days, allowing researchers to more easily work with large, state-of-the-art AI models and very large data sets that are common to healthcare problems. So, in a nutshell, Cerebras has built a high-performance AI computer system that will allow researchers to develop smarter AI solutions to healthcare problems more quickly, and then deploy those in a clinical setting and get answers back to patients sooner, providing better health outcomes. The research that our colleagues and partners at GlaxoSmithKline or GSK is doing is really exciting and also a great example of the power of Cerebras to transform healthcare and life sciences research and development. At GSK, researchers are developing new AI models to develop new genetic medicines. And one of the novel things they're doing is using large AI models that are typically used for human language and text, but instead of using those models to model human language and text, they're using these models instead to model the language of the cell, or in other words, build AI models on genetic sequence data as well as epigenomic sequence data. Previous language models have been developed using DNA sequence data alone. But GSK had a theory that by pairing genetic data and epigenomic data, they could build a better AI model for transcription factor binding, an important process in genetic drug development and therapy development. However, training one of these large state-of-the-art language models on both very large data sets had been impractical to them previously using traditional GPU-based infrastructure. But working with Cerebras and using a Cerebras CS1 system, which is one of our first generation AI computer systems, the team at GSK was able to train a new natural language model that they call eBERT, stands for Epigenomic BERT, based on a state-of-the-art language model called BERT developed by Google in 2018. And they were able to train this new eBERT model using the CS1 system in only 2.5 days. And the estimate was that it would have taken upwards of 24 days to train that same model on a 16 GPU system. So in this case, the CS1, because of its AI compute performance, allowed our research colleagues at GSK to run more experiments on very large data sets to develop this completely new model, and then train that model 160 times faster than would have been possible on a single GPU. So in this case, it wasn't just training an existing model faster, but it was that the performance of the CS1 unlocked a capability to develop a completely new type of model and allowed those researchers to arrive on that answer more quickly. Our research with the GSK team is ongoing, and they'll soon be using a next generation CS2 machine to go even faster in their model development to develop new genetic medicines more quickly. Data-driven healthcare is a really rapidly evolving field. As we continue to work with larger data sets and larger AI models, I see a couple of things happening. First, we've seen an extraordinary interest in the use of large state-of-the-art language models for healthcare text and language modeling, for everything from modeling medical literature to enable smarter question answering and search, to applications like the one we discussed with GSK, where they're using large language models to model genetic sequences or epigenomic sequences for drug discovery. So I see this trend continuing, that is the use of larger and larger data sets, also the use of multimodal data sets, that is data sets of different types, and the expansion of larger and larger models. Just as a point of reference, in the 3 years between 2018 and approximately 2021, the compute requirements for large AI language models like these grew by 3 orders of magnitude. So the compute requirements for language models, for example, for data-driven healthcare, is growing exponentially. And this exponential growth in AI compute requirements is not well met by traditional systems. And so at Cerebras, we see growing volumes of data, growing value for improved patient outcomes, and therefore a need for much, much larger models to be easy to use and compute. And that's exactly where we fit in. As another example, we recently announced this week a partnership and work with a company called Inference, which is using a different type of large language model, in this case called a transformer model. And they're using transformer models to help researchers and clinicians better connect the dots between often siloed databases of medical text and literature, from medical research documents to electronic health records to transcribed physician notes, and helping researchers and clinicians alike connect the dots between those to deliver better health outcomes. And that's work that's really exciting and ongoing and exactly on this trend of larger heterogeneous data sets and use of state-of-the-art language models to help health and biomedical researchers and clinicians make better decisions to affect better health outcomes. As I mentioned before, the primary challenge with this great opportunity is that these data sets are large and the models are large, which often leads to long research and development times. But with the Cerebras system, teams like that at Inference can shrink that development time down to days or weeks that might have previously taken weeks or months. And when you're in the business of providing better healthcare outcomes to patients, every day matters. I think the future of health tech is going to be very focused on data and practical applications of AI to develop better treatments more quickly and deploy those treatments with greater efficacy in a clinical setting. I think we have yet to see the full potential of AI for health tech applications, but I see use of larger models, larger multimodal data sets, and increase in use particularly of large NLP or natural language processing models for this kind of work. With this growing use of large heterogeneous data sets, multimodal models, and particularly the prevalent growth of large NLP models, this is exactly the area that Cerebras is positioned to make easier. That is, enabling researchers as well as clinical operators to employ AI effectively at scale with not only much greater performance and faster time to solution, but also far easier programming, because our machine offers the compute performance that is typically only available in a cluster of machines within a single device. So this not only allows researchers to use the compute performance of our machine, but access it very easily with common programming frameworks like TensorFlow and PyTorch, reducing the end-to-end time to solution even further.